Baking is an exact science. For generations, the standard for a successful cake has been the systematic integration of wet and dry ingredients to achieve a smooth, perfectly blended batter. Reaching that uniform texture usually requires a specific set of tools. You need measuring cups, dedicated mixing bowls, and careful mechanical agitation to ensure the flour hydrates evenly. The dump cake ignores these requirements. There are no mixing bowls, no whisks, and absolutely no stirring allowed. Preparation involves taking a 21-ounce can of cherry pie filling, adding 2 drained cans of crushed pineapple, and spreading that thick fruit base into an even layer across a 9 by 13-inch can. Next, you take a 15.25-ounce box of dry yellow cake mix and pour the entire contents directly over the wet fruit. You don't fold it in, you leave it as a distinct, unmixed layer of powder. Under normal conditions, this should be a failure. Without mechanical mixing to combine the ingredients, baking this stack should result in a pan of hot fruit covered in a layer of raw, chalky powder. Because the dump cake ignores traditional preparation, its success depends entirely on a physical process that occurs only after the pan enters the oven. To see how this works, we have to look at the ingredients as functional boundaries. We start with that bottom layer of cherry pie filling and crushed pineapple. That wet fruit Then there are the final additions to the top, 2 cups of chopped walnuts and 3/4 of a cup of melted butter. The recipe requires you to drizzle the butter so that minimal dry spots remain on the cake mix. This liquid fat seeps into the surface, creating a saturated seal over the powder. The result is a highly specific environment, a dry zone of cake mix trapped between a heavy liquid base and a saturated roof. The transformation begins when the pan enters a 350-degree Fahrenheit environment for 35 to 40 minutes. Inside this enclosed space, the heat drives the reaction. Heat at the bottom boils the fruit juices, forcing steam upward into the dry mix. Simultaneously, gravity pulls the melted butter downward. The rising steam and descending fat meet in the middle, fully hydrating the powder and fusing the starches into a solid cake. The oven's heat serves as the mechanical mixer, automating the hydration process that a baker would normally have to do by hand. When the pan comes out of the oven, the raw components have reached a new state. The base has reduced into a warm fruit filling, which supports a fully hydrated, cohesive cake center. On top, the walnuts and butter have baked into a golden brown, crunchy crust. This outcome shows that labor-intensive techniques can be bypassed by using basic thermodynamic layering to handle the mixing. The final requirement for the dessert is a specific temperature contrast. You add vanilla ice cream to balance the heat of the fruit and the texture of the crust. The utility of the dump cake comes from its use of basic physical laws to generate these textures with almost no manual effort.